Welcome to episode 3 of Kevin Across America. This week I'm in Shenandoah National Park in the state of Virginia. Founded in the 1930s, Shenandoah is part of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It has hundreds of black bears, a 105-mile-long scenic roadway, and is the home of the original Camp David. This is Shenandoah National Park.
I value and treasure the park.
The National Park Service hired Claire Comer in 1986. She's been at Shenandoah ever since.
We have 101 miles of the Appalachian Trail.
The park is long and narrow, stretching from Front Royal, Virginia in the north to Waynesboro, Virginia in the south. In July 1936, FDR dedicated Shenandoah before a large crowd.
And the whole point was to bring the parks to the people. So when Shenandoah was established, there really weren't eastern national parks, and especially ones that were intended for the motoring tourist, the Sunday drive, you know, that whole experience.
Skyline Drive, a curvy two-lane road that cuts along the crest of the Shenandoah mountain range. On a good weather day, it takes about 3 hours to travel all 105 miles. Part of the reason it takes so long is because the speed limit is 35 miles per hour for most of the way. Make sure to carve out extra time to stop at some or all of the nearly 70 overlooks. Many of Shenandoah's hiking trails stem from Skyline Drive, too. The U.S. government relied heavily on the Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC, to make Shenandoah what it is today. Over 9 years, around 6,500 young men installed phone lines and sewage systems, planted nearly 150,000 trees and shrubs, and created hundreds of miles of trails. FDR visited a Shenandoah CCC camp in 1933.
I wish that I could take a couple of months off from the White House and come down here and live with them, because I know I'd get full of health the way they have. The only difference is that they've put on an average of about 12 pounds apiece since they got here, and I'm trying to take off 12 pounds.
Shenandoah has 500 miles of hiking trails. Needless to say, there are a lot to pick from. On Saturday, I hiked a 7.4-mile loop, taking the Mill Prong and Laurel Prong trails at mile marker 52. You get to cross several streams, but the coolest part is Camp Rapidan. This was the former wilderness retreat for President Herbert Hoover and his wife during the late 1920s and early 1930s. The peace and quiet the Hoovers found here inspired the U.S. government to create Camp David. 3 buildings are still standing, including the Brown House, which was President Hoover's cabin. The Park Service typically gives tours, but has suspended them because of COVID. On the hike back up to my car, I got so close to these white-tailed deer, I could hear them chewing on leaves. I also saw a variety of insects, including millipedes, caterpillars, and lots of bumblebees. I didn't see any black bears, but the Park Service told me there are between 400 and 600 in Shenandoah. So apparently when Shenandoah first opened in the 1930s, the federal government had to reintroduce white-tailed deer and black bear to these lands. And so while Shenandoah is for sure a natural gem, some of what we see here today isn't 100% natural.
He said, I love Eric Clapton, he's my hero.
On the drive to my second Saturday hike, I stopped at Big Meadows, which people can walk through. The Park Service mows the 135-acre meadow and does controlled burns to keep the surrounding forest from taking over.
The magic to me of the meadow is the seasons. In a few months here, it will be this amazing palette of oranges and russets and browns and a few little greens in there. And then, of course, in the winter when it snows, it's just amazing out there. And then the spring brings really vibrant, crazy myriad of wildflowers. And then, of course, you're seeing kind of a classic summer look.
My second Saturday hike took me to Lewis Falls. The trailhead is beside the Big Meadows Amphitheater. there's a fairly distant overlook area. A closer-up view of the falls required going off trail. So the downside with Lewis Falls is you're standing on top of it, and in order to get a good look at the 81-foot drop, you have to go down a rock scramble, and it gets a little too close for comfort. At this point in the day, my body was dripping sweat. Needless to say, it was good that my campground had coin-operated showers. It's not the Ritz-Carlton, but I think it will do. $2.50 buys you 5 minutes of hot water. 13 miles of hiking today. I just took my shower and feel so fresh. I'm gonna watch a little Netflix and then go to sleep camping in my Volkswagen Passat. There's a first for everything. Good night. So it ended up pouring last night. I fell asleep to rain, lots of thunder and lightning. People in the campsite next to me were sleeping in tents. Can't imagine. On Sunday, I hiked an 8.1-mile loop, taking the Cedar Run and White Oak Canyon trails at mile marker 45. The canyon almost looks like a rainforest. There are wild mushrooms, ferns, and tons of moss.
I live in Newport News.
I came across Samantha Parker at one of the trail's many cascading waterfalls. A hiking Facebook group linked Parker with these 4 friends. They all live in different cities across Virginia, but try to meet in Shenandoah every other weekend with their dogs.
Shenandoah is nice, easy, family-friendly. One of the few national parks you can bring your dog to. That's huge for my friends and I. That is what brings us here. Most of us started hiking with our dogs solo first, and then we got together.
The stream water is freezing, but that didn't stop some people from cliff jumping and sliding into natural pools. White Oak Canyon has so many waterfalls, but the hike is grueling. Because Skyline Drive is on the top of the mountain ridge, many of the hikes in Shenandoah involve a steep decline into the valley below, followed by a steep incline back to your car. My second hike on Sunday took me to the Hawksbill viewing platform. At 4,051 feet, it's the highest point in all of Shenandoah. Little known fact, the vast number of trees in the Blue Ridge Mountains release tiny vapor molecules that scatter blue light all across the sky, hence the iconic hazy blue views. One of the biggest benefits to Shenandoah is that it's only 75 miles west of Washington, D.C., one of the country's most stressful and chaotic cities. So people can get into a car, drive 2 to 3 hours depending on traffic, and they're immediately introduced to this: beauty, silence, and that gives way to peace. Okay, let's go over some logistics. Shenandoah has 4 campgrounds. I stayed at Big Meadows at mile marker 51. It's the largest with 221 sites. My campsite, which cost $20 a night, had a fire pit and picnic table and was close to a bathroom. In addition to those quarter-operated showers, Big Meadows Campground had a little general store, laundry machines, plus ice and wood for sale. Big Meadows has one of Shenandoah's 2 visitor centers and the park's only gas station. There are 2 main lodges in Shenandoah, Big Meadows and Skyland. They're about 10 miles apart. Both lodges face west and overlook the Shenandoah Valley, providing guests with pastel-colored sunsets. The weekend I visited in mid-August 2021, a basic room at Big Meadows was listed for nearly $300 a night. Word to the wise, you don't need to stay at these lodges for access to their amenities. For dinner Saturday, I ate out on the porch at Big Meadows. I ordered a 10-ounce sirloin steak with whipped Yukon Gold potatoes, asparagus, mushrooms, and caramelized onions. For dinner Sunday, I ate in the Skyline Lodge dining room. There I ordered the slow-roasted pulled pork sandwich with moonshine barbecue sauce and a large side salad. After dinner Sunday, I grabbed a seat in the Skyline tap room and listened to the Davis-Bradley duo play bluegrass and old-time classics with a local beer in hand, named after Shenandoah's Limberlost Trail.
I love when people are affected by the park. Probably the one that sticks out to me the most was just a letter that we received from a lady who had lost her daughter, and she healed here. And she talked in this letter about the importance of Shenandoah as a place to heal from grief and those troubles. And it was life-changing for me.
President Roosevelt dedicated Shenandoah, quote, "for the recreation and recreation they shall find here." Now 85 years later, and it is fair to say, people continue to achieve Roosevelt's goal. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give it a like, and leave a comment below. For now, from Shenandoah National Park in Virginia, I'm Kevin, across America.
Love it, love it. Great, great music.